Devil May Cry 5 features 3 playable characters, 2 of whom we're familiar with and 1 not so much. We've spent quite a lot of time with the game and gotten an opportunity to play as Nero, V and Dante, and so we're here to bring you some of the key things we've learned from the first 10 missions of the game. Just FYI, all of the gameplay footage that follows was captured by us at a recent preview event from a work in progress build on Xbox One X. Be aware though, if you're keen to go into Devil May Cry 5 totally fresh, you will probably find some spoilers beyond this point. You've been warned. So with that, here are 6 new things we've learned playing as all 3 characters in Devil May Cry 5. You don't really need to have an encyclopedic knowledge of the Devil May Cry games going into DMC5, as it does a pretty good job of introducing established characters alongside the new ones. And really, there isn't that much backstory you absolutely need to know. Set a few years after the events of Devil May Cry 2, legendary demon hunter and half-demon Dante runs a demon hunting agency,
Devil May Cry,
where he's aided by friends Trish and Lady, former client, former adversary and demon turned partner, and demon hunter turned client, respectively.
Meet your new client. Listen, I'm gonna find Lady and Trish. Bring him in on this.
What? Come on, you don't think I can handle this gig on my own?
He's just taken on a new case from a mysterious, moody client named V, who tasks Dante with stopping a demon bent on destroying the world. The usual stuff. Dante's nephew Nero also runs his own demon hunting agency out of the back of a van with his mechanically minded friend Nico.
Yeah, he's real pro at smacking demons around. That's why I built him that well-functioning arm, to kick demon ass.
Nero has very recently lost his demon arm to a mysterious hooded figure.
I'm taking this back.
And though Nico was able to help him out by crafting powerful prosthetics, his hunt for whoever took his arm seems to have Nero working the same case Dante is currently assigned to. The very first thing you see when you start a new game of Devil May Cry 5 is a quote from The Poison Tree by William Blake, which is all about suppressing anger at your enemies and allowing your wrath to quietly grow until it spills out into vengeance and destruction. The specific quote is, "And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright." That obviously makes you think of a lot of the light and dark imagery the Devil May Cry games like to play with, as well as some Old Testament imagery. It's hard not to think this has something to do with the mysterious V and his motivations for hiring Dante, and by extension Nero, Lady and Trish, for a big job in the first place. Especially since the demon Urizen turns out to be more than a match for all of them.
Sorry, Dante. I'm back in this bitch!
Nero is the first character you'll take control as in Devil May Cry 5. His combat is all about Devil Breakers, detachable prosthetic arms crafted for him by Nico after his Devil Bringer arm, which was kind of the manifestation of his demon power, was wrenched from his body by a cloaked figure.
Idiot! Get back inside now!
Ouch. You'll acquire ingredients for Nico to make new Devil Breaker blueprints as you fight enemies, collect their weird parts, and progress through the story. And you can perform unique moves with each one by pressing the B button. For example, Overture causes electrical explosions and Gerbera launches Nero around the battlefield. However, hinted at in the name, Devil Breakers are extremely fragile, and if you take damage while performing an attack with one, it'll break and you'll lose it for good. In the beginning of the game, you can have 3 Devil Breakers on hand, no pun intended, at once, though you can expand these slots as time goes on. You can also hold B to charge a Devil Breaker attack to make it more powerful, but this will also cause the Devil Breaker to break on execution. The power and necessity of using the Devil Breakers, coupled with their fragility and status as basically a consumable item, brings a unique layer of strategy to gameplay, as it's all about the risk versus reward of pulling off a move successfully, and making sure you always have spares to hand. There's also the breakaway ability, which means that if you're grabbed or pinned down by an enemy, you can choose to sever the currently equipped Devil Breaker to create an explosion and use that to get away or escape oncoming damage. Though obviously you'll need to know the right times to deploy this. Then there are of course more traditional methods of attack, including melee combos with Nero's sword, the Red Queen, which you can rev using LT, and gunplay with his firearm, the Blue Rose, both of which you can obviously power up with more elaborate attacks as the game progresses. Then, to round it all out and make sure Nero can easily zip around the battlefield, there's his wire snatch ability, which means you can either pull enemies towards you or swing towards them if they're particularly heavy. This will feel kind of familiar to anyone who's played as Nero before. Basically, Nero's combat style is much like his approach to anything: frenetic, volatile, and pretty overconfident. It is super hypnotic to play though, and ultra satisfying to pull off the right moves at the right time once you're in the flow of combat. The mysterious V controls very differently to Nero and Dante, and we like the change-up. Basically, V summons up to 3 demons on the battlefield. Shadow is a panther-like demon mapped to the Y button who's there for your melee attacks and combos using blades and spikes, while Griffin, the mouthy bird-like demon, is all about long-range laser combat. You can charge up their combos using one section of the Devil Trigger gauge, which fills by you either landing blows or taking damage. Filling your Devil Trigger gauge to level 3 or higher, however, allows you to summon Nightmare, who will crash around dealing damage until the Devil Trigger gauge is depleted. After a while, we were able to learn a new skill, Promotion, which means V can actually ride on top of Nightmare and control him, rather than Nightmare just doing his own thing. The interesting thing about V is that the reason he summons these demons to fight for him is he's actually quite weak himself. We don't know why, but we feel like his horrendous footwear is somehow responsible. So while you fight, you must also ensure that V is a little bit removed from the action. To spice things up though, while his demons can attack and weaken enemies, only V can actually kill them, so you'll still need to dart in and out of combat to finish off dying foes with your cane. Your demons can take too much damage and be removed from battle for a while, during which time you're extremely vulnerable. But moving closer to the spot where Shadow and Griffin fell will speed up their recovery time, bringing them back into the fight much more quickly. You can also fill your Devil Trigger gauge faster by reading a book, though this slows V's movement speed right down, so leaves you very much open to a beating. Essentially, V is all about controlling the combat from a safe distance and piling on the pressure, until you can teleport in there and finish things off on your own terms. It's different, but we liked it. V himself, however, we're still very unsure about. I mean, no one you can really trust has ever worn sandals, right?
First, we need to exterminate some Glyphod roots.
V, what the hell are you?
Round 2.
Dante comes into play much later in the game than Nero and V. You'll need to reach mission 10 before you're able to control him. Just like in previous Devil May Cry games, you're able to unlock new moves, abilities and weapons for Dante as the game progresses. And you'll also be able to find secret weapons within certain missions that he's able to wield. Weapons are sorted between long range and close range, and you can switch between these on the fly by using LT and RT respectively. So for example, during our hands-on time we were able to switch between handguns Ebony and Ivory and the shotgun Coyote A for long range, and the good old Rebellion and Fiery Boots Gauntlet combo Balrog for up close and personal attacks. Dante gets significant additions to his arsenal pretty quickly in his campaign too, including a particular sword Devil May Cry fans will definitely recognise. In addition to changing up different weapons as you fight, however, you can also use the D-pad to change Dante's style. Those 4 styles being Trickster, which buffs movement, Gunslinger, which prioritizes long-range combat, Swordmaster, which unleashes devastating melee combos, and Royal Guard, which is all about defense and counter-attacking. Each style changes the special attack you perform with the B button, so there's a lot of versatility there to find a fighting style you enjoy. And then of course there's Devil Trigger, which you can activate once it hits level 3 or above. In this mode, Dante will recover health and gain boosts to his attack, defense, and speed, plus look pretty badass. This Dante will feel pretty familiar to Devil May Cry fans, and rightly so, and plenty of classic moves and abilities will be there for you to unlock from the start, including Stinger and Air Hike. That said, the varying styles and the ability to switch between them for different movesets definitely helps to make this old dog seem full of new tricks.
I curse my stars in bit of grief and woe. That made my love so high, and me so low.
In the first 5 to 6 hours we spent with Devil May Cry 5, we were switching between the 3 main characters pretty regularly. Although most of the time you're playing a set storyline, some missions allowed us to choose which character we controlled. This was definitely helpful once we left the tutorial stage and got comfortable with experimenting with each character's particular strengths and quirks. You'll even fight alongside the other computer-controlled characters at certain points in the game. But really, you'll need to get used to switching control schemes on the fly and utilising each hero's particular skills to take out enemies in different ways. It's interesting how differently you can approach the same enemies based on who you're playing as, and it definitely helps to keep things fresh even when you're hours into the game. DMC is all about smooth, stylish combat and achieving that coveted S or triple S rank, and 5 definitely builds on that foundation, 3 times over in fact. A good thing about DMC 5 though is that even if you aren't that confident with this kind of combat, that doesn't mean you need to miss out on carrying out good looking combos. There's an auto assist mode that can be toggled on and off at any point during the game. You can look for it in the top right hand corner of the screen next to the red orb count. But the producers of Devil May Cry 5 say that they don't want fans to think of this as an easy mode. They say it's more like a tutorial mode. You can turn it on to see what moves there are and to get an idea of how and when they should be deployed, and then you can turn off auto assist and try those moves for yourself. Just experiment and have fun. You can enjoy DMC games no matter what your skill level is, but when the combat really clicks, that's when Devil May Cry gets next level satisfying.
I'm on fire!
One more thing that impressed us about our time with Devil May Cry 5 is not only how varied the combat could be, but how unique the enemies were, particularly the boss fights, of which there were many. In the first few hours, we encountered a vast bunch of baddies, including demon tree roots, hulking tank-like monstrosities, furry flaming fire demons, corrupted flying mermaids, and terrifying black knights, all of whom required a very different strategy to defeat. The demon design is as striking as you'd expect too. In fact, it's safe to say this game looks pretty good all round, but don't just take my word for it.
I know, I'm late. Shut it! The roads were all clogged. Hey, you must be V, huh? Hey, you're gonna get that? Ding, 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 right by your feet. Woo-wee! I'm gonna make something amazing out of this.
Did you just sniff that?
So, which of Devil May Cry's characters and fighting styles appeals to you most? Will you be kicking it old school with Dante or mixing things up with Nero's new Devil Bringers and V's, well, new everything? Let us know in the comments and stay subscribed to Eurogamer for more new Devil May Cry 5 gameplay coming very soon. Click that bell icon for new video notifications if you want to stay up to date, or check out one of our other fine videos, which should be on screen now. And if not, thanks for watching this one. Bye!
Careful, V. Something in here sticks.